Sweat Equity Podcast and streaming show, the #1 comedy podcast in the world. Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with real raw dog talk. We're 2020's best small medium.
That's going to be included every time now, huh?
Small medium
Every
enterprise.
time?
Yeah, just like the last 30 episodes.
I know. I was hoping it would go away.
We're the winner of the 2020's best small medium enterprise business advisory podcast in the United States. Listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. This episode of Sweat Equity with our guest Josh Sheridan, a real cerebral thinking attorney of the Barely Legal podcast that has nothing to do with legal anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mostly music.
Sounds like it's about 18-year-old girls getting naked, but it's not. It's a pun.
Yo.
Barely Legal podcast, get it? He's barely legal. This episode's sponsored by ExpressVPN. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Get you 3 months free off an annual plan. A virtual private network, a cloud computer in the sky. Don't get tracked by big data, by all these social media advertising companies, Martech 5000, all that stuff. ExpressVPN helps you camouflage that code. Get a different IP from any other country. There's like 40 other countries on there. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Get you 3 months free. Anonymize your web searching. Don't get tracked by big data or people like us, because we know how to do that shit. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. 3 months free off an annual plan. Let's get it twisted. Howdy Johnny.
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
And also on brand, a huge thunderclap just went by. Lightning capital of the world, for people that don't know that. That's our cool identity. Your city doesn't have an identity when that's your identity. So you're
Laugh at yourself.
yeah. Like we don't have a space needle. We have the longest unbroken sidewalk in the world.
That's pretty cool.
That's not that great.
That's
cool.
a cool
I
sidewalk.
can rollerblade backwards all the way on.
Yes.
Backwards state, guys.
That's a challenge.
There's a lot of, between that and I grew up in St. Pete, and so who's on the Jack Kerouac had his house over there, and Jim Morrison went to St. Pete High, and
Angela Bassett,
Bobby Joe Long,
okay.
Eileen Mornos. We have
Eileen
Mornos. You threw that in real quick.
One of my good friends was the attorney for both Bobby Joe Long and Eileen Mornos, who were two of the biggest serial killers on the bench. So,
whoa,
wow,
yeah.
What, Delman Young, Elijah Dukes? I'm grasping at straws. So we met a while back through your cousin and one of my best friends from college, Katie, and right next door we used to share a wall for a townhome in Ross Park in Auburn, and then I'd see her roommate and Ronnie Brown talking at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh man, he's plowing Katie's friend or roommate.
She couldn't get
Nice.
Cadillac, huh?
Yeah, well,
right.
he may have been hitting the other roommate.
Okay.
But we met a while back. You're a funny dude. I remember talking to you. And then I think you were working for a firm. Now you have your own, correct?
I've never worked for another firm. The only other place I've worked is I was a prosecutor over in Pinellas County for 3 years. And so when I left there, I went out on my own, and I've at various points had different partnerships. But after I left the state, I hung my own shingle and haven't looked back.
So tell us about that entrepreneurial route, because that is, I find the small law firm kind of fascinating, and the fact that most attorneys sometimes can't grasp with the business side of everything. Did you go solo first and then get in a partnership?
I did, and I had no business doing it. There's no good argument for what I did. There was no real, intention behind it. It was kind of a blind leap, and I even did it within a few months of getting married and moving out of the house that I was in. So I kind of just
That's not
figured I'd do it
stressful.
all at once. And I mean, it's not been easy, but if you've got the fortitude to just kind of not quit, at some point when you look back, you can see progress was made, even if it doesn't feel like you're making it at the time. So, there's been
I mean, that's what they say about Pete Holmes says about stand-up. It's like, it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. It's like when you first start doing stand-up, you have to have a little delusions of grandeur because you're terrible, but you're like, this is getting better. I'm getting better.
Right.
These open mic crowds are, they're
No,
starting
you're
to feel
right.
me
It's
out.
the same thing.
And it's the same thing when you take that leap of faith to do your own thing. You have to kind of know, you have to be confident in what your skills are, or at least like in yourself.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Pete Holmes. I have two comedians that I have taken life advice from, not directly, but actually hearing them on podcasts, and you're going to laugh at the two of them. One is Sarah Silverman, which no problem there, but the other one was Louis C.K. And obviously,
I'll take advice from him.
He's my favorite.
Well,
comic.
he took a different path,
Not
but
in
he's
everything, but
yeah. Well, he would talk about you don't have to be amazing, you just have to be better than, the lower half of the next guys in line, and just kind of keep at it. And after a period of time, kind of the people who don't hang in there fall off, and that's where your longevity comes. I think he said it much more eloquently than that, but it was something along those lines. And then Sarah Silverman said, we look at our future through a pinprick. We only see a very small percentage of what the future holds for us. So don't get too up or down based on what you can see, because there's so many more surprises out there for you. So, I mean, I would have never guessed in 2005 when I left the state that I would have 13 people here, that I'd have 7 attorneys, that we would be taking cases all throughout the state. I mean, it's a modest achievement in the world of attorneys, but it's definitely a big leap from where I was 16 years ago.
Yeah, and there's no better, like, when and we started talking, DMing each other, because I saw your post talking about this growth you're having with your law firm, and I was like, that's great. That's always a good thing. It's good that you're sharing that stuff and kind of proud of it. And there's no better like appreciation day when you get to like these certain levels. Like I think you hired a few attorneys in one fell swoop. How did COVID affect y'all's firm? And how'd you get out of
that? Can we curse on this show, or is it clean?
Are you serious?
Please do.
Yeah.
All right. So it scared the shit out of me originally. Like I didn't know what was happening, and all of the accountants and financial platters were talking to us about the payroll protection, and you got to do this, and if you're going to have these slow months, and I don't say this with joy, but it probably wouldn't surprise you to learn that COVID increased the volume of family law cases out there. So either between people having to spend all day, every day in their house with each other, or maybe families who were living in 2 different states not wanting to send their children on a plane to another state because of COVID. There were all these new issues in family law that hadn't been foreseen before or hadn't come up before. So luckily our phone was ringing off the hook. Obviously I don't want people to have acrimony in their family life, but from a service provider perspective, COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to us on a business level.
So you had probably that. I mean, look, I technically was divorced in the COVID era. Eric's going through it.
Yeah.
And most of the gluttony
Sure didn't help.
But yeah, mine was a dark comedy because I moved in with my ex because I was in a high rise in downtown to watch the kids when we were like, well, this is the smarter move. And then I found myself getting yelled at for like not washing the dishes or something. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, right. I don't need to be here. I don't care about them going in hallways. I already put masks on them, and so
no comment.
But look, it's over now. I mean, but no biggie. But it's one of those things where it was like that is like I I was put in that position of a lot of friends I knew that were going through pre-separation because they hadn't spent that much time around each other.
Yeah. Well,
Is,
maybe don't.
Well, yet another Louis C.K. ism is he said no good marriages end in divorce. So I think there were a lot of people who were on the precipice of doing it, and that just kind of sped things up for them. So there was that, and and then Rick Scott and now DeSantis, they're always playing with getting rid of permanent alimony, which when that happens, there's going to be another floodgate opening of people coming back in to try and get their alimony terminated or at least made finite.
what do you mean? Like an example? Like
It means like for the rest of your life, you get alimony.
like
So,
people get alimony
Florida,
like perpetuity, like just forever.
If you're married for 17 years in Florida, depending on some other factors under the statute, the court can order permanent periodic alimony, which is spousal maintenance for the rest of the life of the receiving spouse or of the paying spouse, depending on whether or not there's a life insurance policy. But one of the problems that was happening a lot is people are getting married pretty young. Say they get married at 19 or 20, and they're married for 17 years. At 37, being saddled with a permanent alimony payment, you have the potential for paying alimony twice as long as you were married. And so that's not necessarily equitable either, because a 37-year-old spouse can probably still go out, build a career, and make some money, and to be supported for the rest of their life, in those situations can be an issue. So they keep sending bills up to try and get rid of permanent alimony, but it always gets kind of stuck. One of the big things is whether or not people who are receiving it now are grandfathered in or not, whether or not you can go back and retroactively do away with it. Because, I mean, if you look at it, so let's say there's an 82-year-old spouse receiving alimony. You cut that payment off now, what's she going to do? Go, what's that?
Deadbeat.
Well, yeah,
Get a job.
right. CVS or
Walmart greeter. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. That I'm thinking about it. We're both 37, age 37. So you nailed it, like the example right in our head. But my thing was like, my attorney, who was a client of mine when I had my agency, and I helped him kind of build out the practice area of doing family law. He had been doing it a little bit, but not really marketing it. He was trying to get collaborative divorce going, kind of stuff, and was doing mine. And I think it bummed him out so much that I don't think he does family law anymore. How do you
Good for you.
How do you deal with the emotional part of it? Because it's are you just a stone cold like No Country for Old Men with a fucking cattle prod shooter?
Well, I maxed out the allowable Prozac dosage I can take.
Okay.
All right, drugs. Yeah.
So there's that. I see a therapist every week, and she's been awesome. I'm probably 60 to 70 pounds overweight. I had a bad habit of finishing off a bottle of wine all last year that I stopped doing.
Attorney that drinks?
I know. It goes through stages.
So you don't deal with it.
Yeah. So yeah, I just bury it deep down and let it manifest in unhealthy ways. But I mean, the podcast helps. Music helps. Playing with my kids helps. And I've really started to enjoy the business side of it more. I'm really trying with bringing on all these people, I've got this whole theory about moneyballing a law firm and breaking it down into.
Now you've got our attention.
Almost kind of, they have those pictures that you look at on the wall and they're all the dots, and then all of a sudden it's a sailboat or whatever, or Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, all the numbers floating around. Like, I've started to really try and break down the practice of it and say, how many cases does it take to hit this number? What's the average amount of fees generated on a case? What are the parts of a case that generate the most fees?
Yep.
How many cases do I need per attorney? How many paralegals do I need per attorney? What's my ad spend based on this amount of revenue? I think
I'm getting a chub.
Oh,
Yeah.
Easy
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
Wear these red pants out.
Sabermetrics.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
that was before the housing market took a shit. But his whole thing was passive income based on rental houses and properties and making, and in much the same way, billable staff are rental properties for attorneys. Any billable person that I hire should be a profit generator for me and not
Correct.
a cost.
Correct.
So I'm enjoying that part of this more and wanting to more and more turn my attention to that and create the funnel, optimize the funnel, and then have the people on hand to be able to handle it. Because I consider myself a trial attorney. I enjoy being in trial, but I'm not a book attorney. I'm not an academic. Like, I can't rattle off case law. I can go in and, make a persuasive argument, but I always joke that I hate case law because it usually goes against whatever I'm trying to convince the court of. So I think there's better people to be the practitioners for my clients and let me kind of get the business running the way it needs to.
Well, I mean, look, the speech I used to give all my small law firm clients was like, you're the business person first, you're the lawyer second. And a lot of them couldn't handle that. And I was like, this is why you hire me. So I tell you this because no one else is going to tell you that.
It's not just lawyers too.
Oh yeah, it's
tons of stuff.
every professional service industry is like that. But attorneys,
my wife's family are all orthodontists and dentists, and they're lucky that, number one, they're not saturated to the degree that attorneys are, and number two, the fees that they can charge for their services. And with hygienists and everything else, again, this Kiyosaki thing of staff that you're making profits off of. But yeah, no, attorneys are awful business people, and I'm only after doing this 20 years starting to finally kind of understand just the peripheral edges of it. But I think law schools do the biggest disservice to law students because what they teach them is so.
they're not.
All those graduate schools are the same way. You get like a day where somebody comes in a suit and tries to explain a business to you.
NBA's not going to do it for you either, really, honestly. I mean, you just have to do
unless
it.
you like grew up in a family that ran a business, or you just have some weird talent for it, or a voracious reader or consumer of Neil Patel and who's the other guy that is always doing Eddie V, or what's the guy's name? Gary V, yeah. Like
bro, you need to maximize your profits.
I mean, some of that's kind of charlatan carpetbaggery, but
we try to do the anti of that because this.
Well, sure, but I just
pragmatic.
mean, most attorneys can't get out of their own way. They're so worried about their hearing tomorrow, or they're so worried about their trial next month that they never take an hour to look at, how much am I spending? How much am I making? Is what I'm spending in line with what I'm making?
It's the E-myth. That's the thing of not getting you get the entrepreneur that gets in their own way. You always have to calibrate yourself, know what you don't know where you need to work on stuff, and figure out eventually, like, do I need to cut bait on me trying to figure this out, or do I need to outsource, bring someone full-time in to help me with this? That's the part where I think a lot of attorneys don't really assess really well. They're very good about doing it for other people, but not for themselves.
Well, most of the time, they're the smartest people in the room are close to, so like it's hard to like take that step back and understand they're not business minded.
Yeah, I mean,
because
attorneys have the biggest chips on their shoulders, have the biggest egos. I mean, I don't like attorneys. I don't like judges. I don't hang out with attorneys. I pretty much dislike almost every judge that I'm in front of. And I think from a personality perspective, it's not a good look.
I like attorneys because they got opinions. They don't, I mean, like, even if they don't believe in them. That's why I hang out with a lot of them. I don't know. I find it.
You like that about somebody?
Yeah, I don't
argue for fun.
No, but I like some. I don't like it. I don't like people that limp into life. And so, like, there's a lot of people that are like, "Why do you even think about that?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, you don't have no opinion on how Big Daddy Donnie T is the best president we've ever had. Just I don't know. Just
say you come across like a dick if you're going to take.
I know.
And what's your side? I'll take the opposite.
And
let's talk about it.
And look, I get called out for being a dick because I have that contrarian logic that a lot of attorneys have. That you'll see kind of both sides of an argument at the same time. And just because you might have ADHD and bored, or just because you're like, I've been thinking about this theory. Let me throw this out at you. Almost all the time, all my attorney friends will at least throw something back. They'll at least play a game of mental tennis with you. But I feel like there's a generation of punk rocker kind of style attorneys like Josh here that are not like a big. They don't love they don't get a boner out of the reverence of it all. Like you don't want the leather couch with the dark wood and
I'm just saying that if you have an opinion, that's fine. If it is the opposite, I'm just saying if you're just bringing up the opposite just to be to have a conversation.
That's annoying.
You're being a dick.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's annoying. That's like shit you do when you're middle school and high school for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it means to be an attorney has changed over the last 30 or 40 years. I mean, I think it used to be like what you're talking about, where it was this hallowed, achievement, and it came with a lot of deference and respect. But, I say all the time, if they let me be an attorney, I've got zero respect for anybody else. If I was able to do it, then you shouldn't be too proud about it. So,
yeah, well.
What a weird backhanded compliment slash slap.
Well,
in the face.
I always joke. I can't tell if I'm the dumbest or the smartest person in the room at any given time. I never seem to be in harmony with the rest of the room, and I don't know if it's because I'm operating beneath or above or whatever.
Do you really rank yourself? Like
I do.
Do you really?
Hence the Prozac. Oh God, yes.
Really?
Constantly. Yeah.
Like
I wish I did.
How Asians rank each other when another
right.
Asian walks in the room. They're like, are they Vietnamese? They're lower than me.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
I worry about it a lot, and I don't know why.
How are you ranking up this conversation between the three of us?
Yeah. What's the power rankings?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Beard's number
you're
one.
Doing it. I know you're thinking about it.
I'm a distant fifth behind you two.
Okay.
Well, I think your humility will probably makes you a lot better if you can kind of hone that with the business side of everything. Go, and a lot of people try to go, I need some advanced kind of whatever. I think the more I think about entrepreneurship, like where you're at and where I failed, is like I didn't calibrate myself. I let my own shit get in the way personally, and like I chased after bad clients that I shouldn't have. I should have just stuck to the script I knew that worked, kind of thing.
You're specifically talking about yourself?
Well, for that scenario, yeah. And
well, I mean, but you're also not at the end of your book yet.
No, I know. And it's interesting you brought up the Sarah Silverman thing, because that's kind of how I think about it right now. Like right now I'm a corporate man. I'm an intrapreneur, all that stuff. And I'm satisfied with it. I'm content with it right now. I think there's there's growth within the company I'm with to do a lot of stuff. And it's pretty much what I was doing before. My thing was, was it my ego that wouldn't let it go? Or was it my ego that I didn't push hard enough to make it run when I knew I could have? There's a lot of things I'm going to question. And there's a lot of stuff I look at now going forward where I go, okay, I have to learn something from that whole experience, right? Because I never want to get back to where I was.
Do you still actually question that? You actually think about that? Like, did I do this right or that wrong?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't have a I can't fail kind of thing, but I do have I could have handled this a lot of different ways.
Sure, self-improvement. All right.
Only because I want the symptom to be, or I want the effect to be of those thoughts. Like, why do we learn history so we never repeat it? Kind of thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah, well, my problem and what I worked on a lot with the therapist and what the Prozac helped me with was I would never be able to put that down. I would always carry that, and in the aggregate, as you start to think about not even actual failures, but perceived failures, as you stack those up and you can't put any of them down, it becomes this cross that you're carrying with you that if you don't figure out a way to deal with it can crush you. So creating space in my bandwidth to just be okay with things and say, I don't have to be the best at everything. I don't have to win at everything. Every choice I make doesn't have to be the most prudent one. So I lost my dad in 2018. I lost my mom in 2019. And that's really where my anxiety and kind of depression came to a head. And then that got me from the therapy to the medicine. And, I have no background in comedy, but I'm a huge comedy fan. I've probably listened to every one of Mark Maron's podcasts. that was the reason I started my podcast and why the template is very much the same as his. And I remember so much in the early days him talking to comedians who were afraid of taking medicine because they were worried it was going to dull their edge, or they were going to lose their sense of humor, or somehow they were going to be less than.
Yeah.
And so I worried about that with myself. You know, I appreciate my sense of humor. I appreciate my outlook. I appreciate my kind of, you mentioned, an anti-establishment way. And I was worried that I would become a zombie or a robot, and it didn't happen. It just, over time, all of a sudden I noticed when I woke up, I didn't feel like the weight of the world was on my chest, and all these, you know, post ops that I did on decisions that I made went away. And I was like, fuck it. It's a new day.
Yeah.
You know,
Perfection's the enemy of good, and don't kick the shit out of yourself. There are two things I was thinking about throughout this whole interview.
And also, I it's funny, I know shit about sports, but I use tons of sports analogies professionally. And so, you know, the concept of leaving it all on the field, if I felt like I put in a full day's work, I busted my ass, I did everything I could do that day, then it's a lot easier for me to take whatever the result is, whether or not it was a win or a loss. You know, I did everything I could do, and it went the way that it went.
Right.
So.
Right. On the business side, and we're going to wrap up pretty soon, so I'll throw it out there. I'm going to go do your podcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we can probably help you with that Moneyball stuff. The real book you probably need to get to is the Extra 2% about the Tampa Bay Rays, where they say use Moneyball. So use the sabermetrics, but managerial experience counts too. It's going to help your bottom line. Where, you know, you have a path for every employee you hired, right? Because you're going to lose them. And if you have turnover, you're not going to be successful. If you can get an extra 2% on your competition, that's how Wall Street does it. And so, but cost rate versus bill rate stuff, we can nerd out about all that stuff in person. Yeah, or on your podcast. Hey, give me your $1 per hour. Give me this. Give me the hours.
No, I want to tell. I've got a whole list of questions for you tomorrow that have nothing to do with any of that.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Right. But that's.
I have exhibits. I have expert witnesses. It's going to be great.
Oh man, sabotage. Well, I've already had an intervention, so you know I already know how to get out of that. But we ask everybody their first time on the pod. If you could travel back in time to your what advice would you give your 13-year-old self? You get in a Bill and Ted telephone booth, and you can go to your 13-year-old self, grab it by the shirt.
Not the sound it makes, but
probably just
Michael Winslow.
Everything's going to be okay. You know, don't take it all so seriously. You know, I was a pretty heavy-hearted kid. You know, my parents were alcoholics and great people, but you know, I was aware at a very young age of their demons that they were struggling with, and I think it made me worry a lot about them. It made me worry a lot about myself. It made me worry a lot about my future, and so I think that set me up to be an anxious person for the greater part of my life. And I think if you try and do the right thing and just give it your all, that, I mean, you can't control that tragedy. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of amazing people in the Surfside buildings in Miami who got smashed, but you know, by and large, everything's going to be okay on a broad enough spectrum. So just don't fret too much.
Yeah, I mean that kind of environment will set you up to be very anxious for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like you're still working on that a little bit.
Every day, but man, I can't. I wish I got a points from Prozac, because I that was a life changer for me. I will shill that. I mean, I know it's not the same thing for every person, but that was turning a corner for me. I felt like limitless. Like once all that anxiety and depression went away, it kind of opened up my vision to see the whole field, and kind of, instead of worrying about all the shit, focus on, you know, what was in front of me.
Yeah, it's radio noise. You got rid of it. Yeah, it's like when you rub your eyes and see those speckles everywhere, just kind of all the time.
That's not great.
No, I was going to say, Eric's going to probably try to talk you into doing some DMT or something to really expand your mind, get you out.
Sounds like you were talking.
Probably don't need to talk to me. I did the whole
ayahuasca
transcendental meditation thing that Stern pushed. So that was interesting.
This is a little different, but
Oh, I know, but I just mean I'm not beyond other horizons.
Yeah, ayahuasca. It's something I'll do later down the line, not right now, but it's on the list.
Once the kids are out of the house.
Yeah, not for me, but it'll help me be a better dad. Hopefully, I don't know. Well, right on, man. Appreciate you coming on, and yeah, Barely Legal podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was an honor.
thanks, man.
All right,
See
you
ya.
guys have a good. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Equity.